Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to briefly talk about something that's very important. I'm a person that goes to church regularly. But one thing I've been stressing for about a year now is how secure are your churches? Do you know sexual predators can just infiltrate a church and you'll never know? Um, I can't tell you how many times that children just were supposed to be in a place and then they just wander off and the parents have no idea. I literally had a parent that just left their child and the child wanted to leave and I just walked with the child. Child don't know me from Adam. My child was in the same um, um, school or Sunday school, Sabbath school, however you want to call it. And then the mom was like, "Oh, tell him, you should never walk off." I'm like, "Well, in my mind, as a parent, you should be somewhere visible, um, or close by." Um, do you know that a lot of a lot of people has been molested in church? And I'm not talking Catholic Church. I'm talking about any denomination. Just been left there in the open for sexual abuse. How secure is your church? Do you have a security team? I've been trying to get my church to do a security team for about 9 months. I have emailed conference presidents, I've emailed pastors, I have emailed that you need to have more security, and all I got was, well, it's the blood of Jesus gonna protect us. I'm like, that type of thinking has nothing wrong with the spirituality of anything, but even King David was a warrior and fighter and protector. And and that's the one thing that churches do not have is a strong security team, which is mostly run by a lot of women, and that's no offense to women. It's just traditionally women attend church more than men. And I'm not saying women cannot protect because they definitely can, but it seems like there's not the same emphasis as how men are. The few women I do know, they have a security team and they working on security. I applaud them because I know a few that's like, yo, anybody can walk in and do something, and a lot of churches are one tunnel. So not only an active shooter can happen, kids could be abducted, taken out, and walked out because how will I know this person is dressed up and look a certain way? Also, do you know that most child molesters do not have a criminal background? They never been caught, so it happened to family members, but it's not like a stranger off the street just take your child. A lot, a lot of molesters are cousins. I used to work for a place called Sunboro House in Minnesota, where this company made their money off of disabilities who happen to be sex offenders, and these sex offender houses just will be blended into the neighborhood, and most people didn't even know it's a sexual um, abuse house or offenders. And a lot of these places are scattered in lower income areas because the higher incomes won't allow it because they do background checks, but a lot of lower incomes don't do enough background checks and they blend into the neighborhoods. But anyway, back to church security. What do you have to protect your young people? I'm fanatically around my daughter at all times. When I drop her up to her class, I scoped it out. I may go grab some breakfast within the building, but it's not. I can get to the class in 15 seconds. And I periodically walked in. Initially, I was in the class at all times, just because, some other kids will be acting a fool, and parents just drop their kids knowing that their child acting a fool. You're not gonna act a fool on my child. And then I said, I got, kind of back off, let my daughter be able to, um, you know, sense and work and do some things on her own. And I periodically I check in, check back, check in, check back. But I know more than anything how dangerous people are and what they come. And if I'm self-defense 5 days a week in martial arts, I'm self-defense when it counts, which is at home, which I have tons of cameras, and also the places I go. Even in churches that I have visited and I have plead and beg and plead for them to do something, I don't no longer attend that church on regular, because I'm like, look, I have begged you, please have something in place. You just can't have this old lady sitting on a walker and that's your security. You got a lot of young people, and it's a lot downstairs. That's another thing. There's too many places downstairs where kids could be pulled or say. I knew kids who lost their virginity in church. I literally, because there were rooms. Kids are so creative, man. So what type of security team? Do you know who's working with your children? Have you done a background check? It has to be done. And I know it's hard to get volunteers, but you cannot assume that because they're a nice person that they cannot be abusers. And you cannot assume because they are females that they can't be abusers. Females can be sexual predators just as men can. Do you have a 2-person team to volunteers? There's no reason that a 14, 15-year-old should be with all these young people and there's no parents check-in. There's no reason. And there should be some type of security check with other parents, like, hey, I saw your child doing A, B, and C. I'm just getting you heads up, just letting you know. You should have at least 4 or 5 people in your congregation that you feel comfortable enough to, you can send a text message, and if you see my child doing something, you let me know. That's the era I grew up in. We were very accountable. And in those days, a stranger can spank you, and then they'll tell you, and then you spank them. But I know the era has changed. That's no longer the case. But still, eyes on situation, eyes, on site, eyes of kids wandering by themselves. I absolutely would, if I see a child wandering by themselves, I will make sure that there's somebody's aware. I don't care if it looks like I'm a predator. I'm like, hey, this child's wondering who this child belongs to, where this child's supposed to be at. But that's just me. And usually the bigger the churches are, the harder the security is. But it happens in small places too. So, any place where you have any type of room, there's risk for dangerous because your guard is down. You're in a place of worship, vulnerability, so you tend not to think security. And you absolutely need more security. I keep my Lex Lethal with me at all times. Where I go, it's always on me. I have 2 weapons in it at all times, plus a pepper spray, just regular pepper spray. So if something happened, I can have one, give one to somebody else, and give something to somebody else. So I have 3 weapons on me to give. 2 weapons to give, along with my weapon. That's just how I feel about security, and it's just you just can't do it. You need more protection. So that's just something. But the channel is active protection, security extra with John. I always learn something, and I learn things I need to do better for myself. for my own security and the legal ramification of what happened. Also, we gotta be mindful of other. I'm gonna save another topic, but the gas station is another place where it could be very dangerous. So, but until next time, it's called extra active protection extra security extra. I wrote it down there. I lost a sticky note to say, but it's well worth watching the channel. You will learn a lot. Um, yeah, protection, security needs to be. So have a good one.